Under the bright Mediterranean sun, the sound of engines hums across the runway at Ben Gurion International Airport. Cameras are already rolling, flags are rippling, and a sense of history fills the air. A large American aircraft, blue and white, emblazoned with the seal of the United States, touches down gently on the tarmac. The words Air Force One gleam against the fuselage. The aircraft has carried world leaders before, but today it carries a man whose presence once again reshapes the region's fragile balance. The door opens slowly. A gust of hot air meets a man who has come not only as the President of the United States, but as the self-declared broker of peace. Donald Trump steps onto the stairs of Air Force One, waving to a sea of cameras and flashing lights. The clock reads just before 10 a.m. local time. On the red carpet below, waiting to greet him, stand Israeli President Isaac Herzog and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Both men smile broadly, aware that this moment will be broadcast live across the world. Trump descends the stairs in his familiar stride, confident, deliberate, aware of the spectacle. The crowd cheers, though restrained. Behind the barriers, members of the press capture every movement. It is not just an arrival, it is an image designed to send a message that Washington is back at the center of Middle Eastern diplomacy, and that this new truce, this new fragile hope in Gaza, has an American stamp. As Trump reaches the carpet, Herzog steps forward first, hand extended. The two men exchange warm greetings, short words unheard by the microphones, but heavy with symbolism. Netanyahu joins in moments later, offering his own handshake and a few words of welcome. Their faces project cordiality, but behind the formalities lies an unspoken awareness of the stakes. The ceasefire in Gaza, brokered by Trump's envoys just days earlier, is still holding, but barely. Sarah Netanyahu steps closer to greet the American president. There is a brief embrace, a diplomatic gesture that evokes familiarity rather than mere courtesy. Trump smiles, nodding, speaking softly as cameras click in bursts. He then turns to a pair standing behind the Israeli delegation, his daughter, Ivanka Trump, and her husband, Jared Kushner. They exchange a familial hug, a tableau that feels both personal and political. Ivanka and Kushner were architects of the earlier Abraham Accords and now serve once again as informal envoys in the Trump administration's renewed Middle East initiative. Their presence here signals continuity, a family project extending into the architecture of global diplomacy. Around them, Israeli officials line the tarmac. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, National Security Advisor Tzachi Hanegbi, senior officers of the IDF, and cabinet members from Netanyahu's coalition, all standing at attention. The choreography is precise. Trump waves once more toward the cameras before being ushered toward his waiting convoy. Air Force One gleams in the background, its engines still cooling. American and Israeli flags flutter side by side under a pale blue sky. It is an image both nations have carefully constructed. Friendship renewed, alliance reaffirmed, and leadership on display. Trump exchanges final words with Herzog and Netanyahu. A few quick nods follow, then a turn toward his armored vehicle, the familiar presidential limousine known as the Beast. The Secret Service closes ranks around him. Netanyahu and his wife Sarah step forward, joining Trump in the car. Through the tinted windows, the outlines of their faces are faintly visible as the door shuts. The convoy begins to move. Black vehicles snake across the runway, escorted by motorcycle units and surrounded by tight security. The American and Israeli flags mounted on the limousine flutter side by side. It is a slow, deliberate procession, a reminder that diplomacy, too, moves carefully. For Israeli television networks broadcasting live, this is a national moment. Anchors describe it as a visit of gratitude, a visit of peace. The timing could not be more charged. Just 48 hours earlier, the first group of Israeli hostages, 48 in total, had been freed under the Trump-brokered deal. In exchange, Israel began releasing 250 Palestinian prisoners. For the first time in nearly 2 years, the guns had fallen silent in Gaza.
No hands. No hands.
The ceasefire plan itself, 20 points negotiated through Egyptian, Qatari and Turkish mediators, outlined a phased withdrawal of troops, international reconstruction oversight and monitored corridors for humanitarian aid. Trump had called it a framework for lasting peace. Critics called it a temporary pause in an endless cycle. But for now, the ceasefire held, and the world's attention turned to the man who claimed to have delivered it. As Trump's motorcade leaves the airport, his daughter Ivanka and son-in-law Jared Kushner greet Israeli first couple Isaac and Michal Herzog. Cameras capture the exchange, smiles, handshakes, soft words carried away by the wind, diplomacy at its most symbolic. Behind them, Air Force One remains parked, shining like a monument of American power and intent. Across Israel, television screens fill with split images. On one side, the president's arrival. On the other, live footage from Hostages Square in Tel Aviv. Families there hold up portraits of their loved ones, newly freed or still missing. Some weep, others sing. The emotional contrast between the ceremony and the suffering is stark. Yet both scenes are connected by the same thread of hope, that maybe this time peace might endure. In Jerusalem, preparations are already underway for Trump's address to the Knesset. The speech, aides say, will outline the next phase of his Middle East plan, a joint US-Israel security task force, the establishment of a $70 billion Gaza reconstruction fund, and a new diplomatic council that will include Egypt, Qatar and Morocco. Trump's message, according to one senior advisor, is simple. The war is over and rebuilding begins. But not everyone is convinced. In Gaza City, survivors dig through ruins, searching for remnants of their homes. 90% of the enclave's population remains displaced. Hospitals run on limited fuel, and international agencies warn that food shortages persist despite the opening of Egyptian aid corridors. More than 67,000 people have been killed, with another 169,000 wounded since the war began. For them, the ceasefire feels fragile, uncertain and political. Yet for many Israelis, it is the first real moment of relief since the horrors of 2023, when hostages were seized and entire communities attacked. At Sheba Medical Center in Ramat Gan, doctors prepare to receive freed captives. The hospital has transformed an entire wing into a recovery unit. The Israeli Health Ministry calls it a national duty. As Trump's convoy enters Jerusalem, security tightens, police line the roads, helicopters circle overhead, and barriers rise along the routes leading to the Knesset. The city is under lockdown, but also alive with anticipation. For Netanyahu, this visit is not only political reinforcement, it is personal vindication. After months of domestic criticism and protests over his handling of the war, Trump's arrival gives the Prime Minister a renewed sense of legitimacy. Standing beside the American president, Netanyahu can project confidence, strength and alignment with Washington once again. In Washington, Trump's aides frame the trip as phase 2 of the peace mission. Envoy Steve Witkoff and Admiral Brad Cooper accompany the president, tasked with overseeing implementation of the ceasefire and coordination of humanitarian logistics. Witkoff, a close personal ally of Trump, was in Tel Aviv days earlier, addressing hostage families at a candlelight vigil. His emotional message, "Your courage has moved the world," was replayed across Israeli media. In Cairo, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi praised the Trump-led diplomacy, calling it a turning point deserving of the Nobel Peace Prize. In Doha, Qatari officials welcomed the US re-engagement, but in Tehran, the response was sharp. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi dismissed the visit as political theatre, insisting that Israel cannot be trusted even in ceasefire. Iranian state TV portrayed the scene in Tel Aviv as an American effort to rewrite the narrative of the war while ignoring Gaza's destruction.
We got to have some more space. Don't get all these guys at one time.
Across Europe, reactions are mixed. In Berlin, protesters fill the streets calling for justice and accountability. In Paris, officials cautiously welcome the development but demand long-term oversight. The Vatican, meanwhile, has announced a peace vigil in solidarity with the people of Gaza, urging human dignity beyond politics. Inside Israel, emotions swing between gratitude and skepticism. Many Israelis credit Trump's direct diplomacy for saving lives. Others worry that his approach, heavy on personality and showmanship, lacks the sustainability needed to secure real peace. Political commentators debate endlessly. Is this the dawn of a new Middle East or merely a new chapter in an old playbook? Still, on this day, the images dominate the narrative. The arrival of Air Force One, the handshake with Netanyahu, the convoy toward Jerusalem. They tell a story of movement, symbolism, and ambition. As the motorcade climbs the road toward the Knesset, schoolchildren line the sidewalks, waving American and Israeli flags. Trump's limousine passes slowly, its polished surface reflecting a city layered with history and conflict. In the distance, the dome of the rock glints in sunlight, a reminder that every promise of peace here must coexist with faith, memory, and division. Inside the Knesset, preparations are meticulous. Technicians test microphones, banners are hung, and Israeli and American delegations gather. Trump's speech, expected to last 40 minutes, will emphasize unity and reconstruction. He is likely to declare the ceasefire the dawn of a new Middle East. His aides have hinted that he will also announce a regional summit in Amman next month, bringing together Israel, Egypt, Jordan, and the Palestinian Authority. The motorcade halts at the Knesset gates. Trump steps out, waves once again, and walks toward the entrance, flanked by Netanyahu and Herzog. Flashbulbs light the steps. In this carefully choreographed theatre of diplomacy, every movement is designed for the cameras and for history. For the watching world, the question remains, can the peace he champions survive beyond the spectacle? Can faith, family, and force of will overcome the scars of war and mistrust? For now, optimism fills the air. For Israelis, this is a moment of recognition and relief. For Palestinians, a test of faith in promises made from afar. For Washington, a statement that American diplomacy has returned to the region it once sought to exit. As the day ends, the images from Tel Aviv remain vivid. The red carpet, the greetings, the flags, and the slow roll of armoured vehicles into Jerusalem. The echoes of cameras fade, but their symbolism lingers. Donald Trump's arrival has once again reminded the world that in the Middle East, peace is never just an agreement. It is a performance of belief, risk, and renewal. His plane may have landed, but the true landing, the grounding of peace, has only just begun. In the quiet that follows the speeches, the cameras turn back to Hostages Square. Families still hold their photographs under the fading sunlight. Some are smiling, some still waiting. Their faith, like the ceasefire, remains fragile. For them, and for the millions watching, the hope is simple, that this day, this visit, this handshake will not be remembered as another fleeting moment, but as the beginning of something lasting. For now, the red carpet is rolled back. The motorcade fades into the streets of Jerusalem. Air Force One stands ready for its next flight. The world watches once again as diplomacy takes flight, carried by the promise of peace and the enduring question of whether this time it will truly hold.
No hands. No hands. some more space. Don't need all these guys at one time.
מסדר יעבור לנוח, מות נוח. מסדר יעבור לדום. מסדר דום.